Oh my gosh, we are live. Thank you guys for your patience. Meg and I are, we're out here trying to make a difference and out here trying to understand technology. And
Yeah,
what? It is hard.
zero technology skills. It's really difficult to do that.
It's
So
yeah, we don't know what we're doing. But hey, we're here now. We have some people in the house already, Meg. We've got My Mind Went AWOL 2006. I genuinely appreciate this series as more of us grow older, take control of our lives, the movement grows stronger.
hell yeah.
Hell yes. So, anybody who is just joining us, this is a special segment of That's So Effed Up, the podcast. And we were going to do it during December. And then Meg and I both looked at our schedules and said, what were we thinking? That's wild. So it's January. We're going to be starting our ongoing segment, but we did do an episode I think a couple weeks ago, right?
I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And we did an introduction to what the troubled teen industry is, the TTI, a little bit about Meg's work. And if you guys want to go watch that, you absolutely should. That is here on the channel. And I highly recommend watching that one before you get into the series because we do kind of like lay down a lot of the basics. But we are your hosts of the series. I'm the host of That's So Effed Up the podcast, Ashley Love Richards. And this
is Meg Appelgate. I'm the CEO of Unsilenced.
Hell yeah, you are. So you guys, we know that sometimes views start to wane a little bit towards the end, and we want to make sure that you guys know where to go to find all of this crazy important information. Meg, can you tell them a little bit about all those links we have in our description?
So many links, so little time. Well, I guess the biggest one is as of this morning, I now have my own official big girl website. Yes, I know. I'm like, it's time. I'm 38 years old. It's time to just grow up and get a website and know how to do that. And I don't know how to do it. I actually had someone do it for me because, like I said, zero tech skills. But the website is megappelgate.com. And it's exciting. It's going to highlight more about the industry, more about Unsilenced. It's going to talk about everything we're doing, everything I'm doing. It's going to have a link that we'll also put in the chat here in a second to sign up to be notified when my book comes out, which should be in February. It's a memoir. I'm very excited about it. And so, yeah, we've been up to some awesome stuff at Unsilenced, some of which I'm going to talk about real quick. First of all, we have launched our youth congregate care database, which is very, very, very exciting. Do you want me to put it in the chat?
Yeah, I was looking for the link. I was going to your email, but it's taking me a minute. But we both have have link power.
Yeah, we do. So here is the link to the to my new website. Here is the link to sign up to be notified when my book comes out. And then here is the link to what I was talking about, our youth congregate care database. This is part of our experience surveys that you may have seen coming out on our socials. And it's basically a huge survey for anyone who experienced institutional child abuse. Now that is foster care systems, juvenile justice facilities. This is any kind of institutionalized setting at all. So the goal of this is to get a large enough database so that when we hear from attorneys that we're partnering with that there's litigation in a certain program or with a certain parent company, that we can reach out to an email specifically all of the people that said that they wanted to and indicated that they wanted to on the survey. So it's incredible because it's going to cut down the amount of time we're putting out calls to action all the time and hoping it reaches the right program people. So filling out this, if you have any kind of lived experiences in any type of congregate care setting, please fill out that link right here. Did I ever put it in there?
Is it the typeform.com?
I did. No, this is the database one. So
we don't have that one in the chat yet.
I just put it.
There we go. Now we do.
So that's extremely exciting. And then on top of that, the other one is going to be to something we'll probably talk about a little later, but I'll put the link in now, which is our attorney database. Now, this is kind of like blown up lately, and in a good way, like a good blow up. And this attorney database is literally existing to connect survivors of institutional abuse with attorneys who are capable, able, and willing to litigate cases and hold programs accountable on contingency. And for those of you who don't know that, that means free until you receive a settlement, which is huge for survivors.
Wow.
Yeah. And through this, we have partnered with multiple law firms throughout the country to be able to provide, litigation services for these firms, to be kind of like the survivor liaison between attorneys and survivors, because there's always a lot of information that survivors want, obviously, in the case. And we want the time to be spent on the lawyer side doing the lawyery things and not the survivor things, so they can focus on the case more. So by kind of partnering up with the survivors and with the attorneys, we're able to take a lot of the load off of the attorneys so they can do their job, and then also just kind of be there for the survivor as they go through this really tough, thing, which is, going through any kind of case, right? So very exciting. Go ahead and check that out. And then the last announcement I have is on Halloween, we announced that we are launching our Unsilenced Activism Network. It is currently live, and this is a really good way to if you want to volunteer with Unsilenced or be in activism, but you don't have like a ton of time to be like a formal volunteer with Unsilenced, it's a really good way to just be a part of the community, but then be able to activate when you can and when you need to. And it's a really good way to be in contact with the Unsilenced team, who is all within that network, and there to answer questions, help in any way they can, and facilitate the activism components that are going on. So if you're interested in being a part of it, please go ahead and click that link, and it'll take you to Mighty Networks, which is where it's located.
Yeah, and I have the Mighty app, and I'm in the network, and the Mighty app is actually really nice. I was looking for some alternatives. I was looking for some alternatives to Patreon, and Mighty seemed like a really great option, although I don't want to make 100+ people have to figure out a new platform. I think a lot of them would be upset and leave me. So I'm going to stick with Patreon, but Mighty looks awesome, you guys. It's super user-friendly. You should definitely
get on there. It really is.
Because I know people are like, oh, a new app platform. I don't know, but it's aesthetically pleasing. It's easy. You guys will love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of really important work going on. As Renee said, you are doing very important work.
Thank you.
As Meg, just for anybody who maybe didn't see our last dive, if you want to kind of maybe give our current audience and the replay crew, hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for watching. Just a little short bio and
So yeah, I'll just kind of start with, well, my name is Meg Appelgate. I'm the CEO of Unsilenced. I am a survivor of institutional abuse. I spent 3.5 years in 2 different programs. And when I say programs, that is facilities within the troubled teen industry. And one of them was I guess it's considered a psychiatric hospital for about 6 months, which was a lockdown facility. And then I spent 3 years in a therapeutic boarding school, very big air quotes on therapeutic boarding school, in northern Montana. And, when we say things like troubled teen industry, what do I mean? It is basically talking about a network of powerful and punitive congregate care facilities that claim to provide mental health services, help with educational difficulties, and all in all really claim to fix any kind of behavioral issues or problems that your kids are having. But in reality, they're using non-evidence-based practices and other behavior modification tactics really to change a child. And so because of that, many youth leave these facilities considering themselves survivors. So that is what we mean by program, troubled teen industry, and what it means to be a survivor.
Very well put. Thank you, Meg. And I think something that would be a little bit interesting to touch on in this is, and I think we did this in the last episode that we did, but the thumbnail that I used for today had kind of several different types of these care facilities or like torture camps. That's what they are. And what do you know, like, I'll go over them a little bit. Do you know what the most common type is? What versus like boarding school, wilderness camps?
That's a really good question. It depends, like, I guess, why the youth is being sent, like, or what are the reasons causing them to do this? So I would say in my opinion, be more popular pipelines for certain types of behaviors that get them sent away. And then if that makes sense. So for instance, if it's not really behavioral issues, let's say, and it's really like hardcore mental health issues or issues with self-harm or perhaps like disordered eating and things like that, it might be more likely they're going to end up in a residential treatment center than they are in wilderness camp. If they're more the troubled teen type and they're sneaking out and having sex and all the other behaviors parents assume are bad and skipping school, oh no, then it might be more likely they'd end up in wilderness programs and things like that. But okay. We'll say it's very common for both wilderness programs and residential treatment programs to lead to the long-term ones, right? So even if it's a short-term solution that the parents are choosing, they very much so are gateway places to the longer term ones that can take money for longer periods of time. So that would be like therapeutic boarding schools and religious academies and those kinds of things.
I try to like mute if I'm gonna clear my throat.
Don't die.
Not do it in your ear. And yeah, I know that a lot of these places serve as just pipelines from one to the next. I think, is it more common for survivors to have been to more than one facility?
Yeah. It's actually, I would say, I mean, I don't have a percentage, but I do know that, for instance, we've got two of our team members in here as well too. We've got our director of investigations, then we've got our director of advocacy.
Hey guys.
But what we just actually met with Dr. Patrick from the IRB that we are doing through Baylor College Medicine with some details on the survey responses that we got. And one of the interesting things regarding pipelines was that we took the whole group of people who were institutionalized and asked how many programs they went to and what types. And when you break it down, it was interesting. Abby, you would have to tell me how many people were total in the institutionalized. Was it like 300 and something or 178 that we surveyed? Anyway, she can let you know in the chat. But there was only 3 that went to only wilderness. 3. So like that is crazy. Out of whether it was the 170 something that I'm remembering or it was the 300 and something, that is wild. It is so uncommon to just go and get short-term care and then you're done and you're good, because they've all been kind of, I hate to say it, but like groomed. These programs are there for the reason of funneling them to longer solutions that are meant to take more money for longer periods of time.
And it's a lot of grooming of the parents and family. Like people don't understand, I think often, that it's not only children who get groomed, or it's not only the the targeted victim, but often, people or institutions have to go out of their way to, like groom the family into believing that this is the only way that their kid who is drinking, which is a pretty normal teenage behavior.
Very,
Like
very.
it says in, you guys, Meg recommended this book to me a while ago, and it's really great. Help at Any Cost by Maya Salovitz. It's how the troubled teen industry cons parents and hurts kids. It's I think really easy to be like, oh, fuck these parents for sending their kids away. Like,
right.
Terrible, right? But they're really good at convincing people like, no, this is the only way that your kid's going to be okay.
Right. I think that it's really actually important that, and I'm a survivor. And so like, I understand how much it sucks to like have gone through what I feel like is abuse and have to like separate that, because we were sent a lot of times by parents and how do you separate that? But it's the more survivors can come to understand the deceptive marketing and fear mongering and manipulation that goes into the parents, to be able to open our eyes to, this isn't just us as the victims. There's victims all around here. And I know that from my intimate work with our partners, my work with families and parents and siblings. Everyone is hurt by this. I can tell you that, it's easy to think that everyone that's funneling kids in is guilty, right? It's so easy to think that. But I can tell you from my work, when I have done project speak presentations to nonprofits and attorneys and people that have had some kind of hand in getting kids to facilities unknowingly, they're in tears. They're in tears knowing that they accidentally did this. And then they're on our team. So we have to keep like an open mind to the fact that, that deception exists and parents are falling for it. And we also have to understand that most parents, I would say like, a majority, at least I'd like to think so, parents are doing it because they think at the time that that's the right thing to do, right? Think about the cognitive dissonance that's involved in being a parent, making a decision that people are telling you is the right thing to do. And then you have to own the fact that you made a decision that hurt your kid. The cognitive dissonance in that is so huge. And so to be able to go to a point of that, most parents, it's really hard for parents to get to, of like, I messed up, like, I'm sorry. A lot of survivors don't get that. But when we do get that, to try our hardest to just, you don't have to forgive. We don't have to like, go in that route, but at least allow them, give them the information so they can go out and help, right? And allow them to try to help solve the overall problem, which is kids are still getting sent, kids are still getting hurt, and the survivors coming out are still unsupported.
Yeah, it's, as you know, I went off on somebody or a couple people on your Instagram account recently, just for like, just the way that people attack victims and survivors. I know people identify as different things, and then like ragefully stand up for perpetrators. It just blows my mind. It's like, okay, Meg, why don't you get over being kidnapped? Okay, like, stop being so stupid.
But see, like, that's the funny thing is like, that's when like that you're in a good place, right? Because like there was a time when that would have hurt my feelings so bad, right? Now it just makes me laugh, because like, I like to think if they knew exactly what they were saying, that they would feel bad, And it's funny because the person you're talking about, the one that like went all out, the one that was,
I'm so mad.
I know, I can tell. But the one that went all out, it's funny because behind the scenes, they DM'd me and they're like, I don't usually do this because I'm like a really bad person, but I just wanted you to know that like, I'm sorry you had to go through that. So, like, they didn't want to show the world that they're like a semi good person.
Yeah, they're like, I have this facade that I'm keeping up, that I'm a terrible person. That's weird. That's a weird hill to die on, but okay.
Exactly. I should mention something in the comments. someone's talking about the parents. I forgot to say that.
Oh yeah, let's bring up some comments.
That link that I sent for the Unsilenced Activism Network, we actually have already made a parent section of that for parents and allies, or parents that are allies. So if your parents are on board and they're like wanting to help, I get a lot of parents asking that, like send them that link. They can join our parent space and be able to collaborate with other parents and kind of have the support that they need. And also like they want to be involved in the activism because it helps them feel better about fucking up, you know?
Totally.
We provide this place so that, you know, we can do it for parents. That is to the, maybe
the wrong one.
Yeah, Marissa, can you throw in the link to just the parent network by any chance?
And is Unsilenced Investigative Research?
That is our director of investigations.
Is that Marissa?
Marissa is the director of advocacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like 379.
Yep, 300
institutionalized.
And
three
only wilderness. That is crazy. Can we get a percentage on that real quick? Let's see.
I'm like, I can't do math.
Oh, I have a calculator. Okay, divided by 379. That's 0.007%.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah.
That's like the highest success rate of any industry.
Oh, well, no, then you go to actually, so the 379 institutionalized, of those, the people that reported it to be helpful, 2.7%.
And I mean, let's be honest. Like, do you think it helped or?
Oh, no.
Right. It's I think like from what I'm reading, it helped at any cost from a couple of people's personal accounts. It's like while they're still in there, because like a lot of times this kind of, I guess, like pipeline, or maybe not, maybe it's not part of the pipeline. I don't know. You tell me. But the kids to get out of the program, they have to become abusive to the other kids, right? Like they have to kind of like rank up a lot of times.
Yeah, in a lot of programs, I would say that's common. Ranking up is almost always evident. There's not always the aspect of like mini staff evident in every program per se. A lot of, you know, some programs don't feel comfortable with that because they just like don't give kids that amount of like freedom ever.
Yeah.
But a lot of programs do, because it allows them to utilize like lower ratios, because by having the people that are on higher levels, or, you know, which is equal to like more brainwashed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like those people have higher trust, and allowing them to look over the people that are on lower levels. I'd say that's pretty common, but not as common as just the total level system, keeping any kind of privileges away until you reach this level, and then this level is more, and then this level is more. If you fuck up, you go back down to these levels, kind of that normal going up. Definitely though, that the industry was rooted in that theory. I mean, Straight Incorporated was built on that. I don't even know if they had many staff at all. It was all students it was like mini staff. Yeah.
And there's a man named Richard who shares his story about Straight Incorporated. And he, by the time he was staff, he was like very convinced that the program had helped him and that he was helping other people by doing this. It was like, no, you just don't get it. Like we need to be abused. It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, there were so many years, probably like 17 years, that I believed I was thankful for the program and I was bad. So it saved my life. Like I viewed it like that until I woke up.
Wow.
And that's what, you know, indoctrination does, is it becomes, you know, your new reality, your new narrative, until you realize that narrative is completely false.
Yeah, and I was actually, it's funny that you said indoctrination, because I said, if that, in my head, I was thinking, if that's not indoctrination, like, I don't know what is. This industry is very coercive, controlling, very cult-like in the worst kind of way. Yep. So I actually am in a troubled teens Reddit. And 6 days ago, somebody posted this, and I was just like, Jesus. Residential treatment. I know someone who has a daughter who has severe PTSD to the point that she often acts similarly to a person who has autism. Very confused by this first sentence already. She needs residential treatment for her trauma and self-harming / suicidal actions. She is consistently ending up in the ER for psychiatric reasons. I'm concerned because her dad was thinking about getting her placed at youth villages in Douglasville, Georgia. And I just saw the post about a death at youth villages in Tennessee. How do you know the program is bullshit and abusive without actually enrolling your kid? What are the warning signs?
There's so much to unpack there.
Because I commented on this, but let's hear your comments.
There's so much to unpack.
Reddit, man. Ooh, it's wild there.
Overall, that post perfectly highlights the social change needed and the depathologization that needs to happen with adolescence and adolescent behavior and mental health, right? It shows a fundamental misunderstanding of trauma and what things help trauma. And so there's that overlying just umbrella of like, what the fuck, this
she has PTSD and self-harm. Let's send her to a prison.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And I think people don't understand that. Like, would you want to be locked up? I think if we change this word, the word treatment should actually be outlawed from like being able to be used, right? Like, because the reality is that people in juvenile hall and people within the prison system receive more treatment than you would in this. So
it's a far more regulated industry as well.
Way more regulated. They get phone calls. They have fundamental rights that don't get taken away, right? So like, the fact of the matter is, that is going toward the problem and being able to call a very wide range of things treatment. And if prison isn't allowed to be called treatment, then how come the troubled teen industry is able to be called treatment? Because what it does is it furthers the social issue of thinking that being locked up is ever going to help anyone. It doesn't help people. The act of being locked up doesn't help. The only time being locked up helps, in air quotes, is when you are actively trying to take your own life or actively trying to take someone else's life, or potentially behaviors that make it incapable for living and you need 24/7 doctor care, like disordered eating that's gotten to a certain point and those kind of things, beyond medical reasons, obviously. But the understanding that if I have mental health issues, being in a facility is the answer. That's what we need to like combat. And that's what we're going up against. And it perfectly highlights how much of a battle this is in parents understanding because of the last 50 years of deceptive marketing that the industry has done.
Yeah, it's when I saw this, somebody said she needs residential treatment. Gonna stop you right there. And I piggybacked on that and said, this post makes me so sad. People have no goddamn idea about these places. And then I linked Unsilenced. Because I was just everything about that was like, okay, she has PTSD, which makes her act similarly to a person who has autism. Maybe she is on the spectrum. Like, what the fuck? And are you a mental health professional, Trinity Lovelace? I don't think so. And then, so, okay, though, what about this? She's consistently ending up in the ER for psychiatric reasons. So if that is the case, or, there is disordered eating to a point of, potentially death by malnutrition or something, what do you think the correct steps?
We're thinking about this on, like, if we have the spectrum, here's the behaviors, and then here's roots, causes, right? Mm-hmm. What this industry is all over here on behaviors, right? And what all these options they're talking about is over here, we need to get, self-harm and eating disorders. Okay, something about control. She's having issues with control. She wants more control in her life. Mm-hmm. She, so trying to understand these behaviors are elicited because of what? Trauma is very big, right? That's a very big term. It can be from a lot of different things. for instance, within the IEP system, and within school districts, which is basically for people there that don't understand how that works, is if your child is having difficulty in the educational system within public schools, you can get something called an IEP, and that is going to be in place. It's legal, right? So if you have trouble in schools, it has to be placed for you if you need extra care. So that's anything from like, if it's ADHD, it goes beyond a 504. So it'd be like, let's say ADHD all the way to like autism or dyslexia or, all these range. Now, within the IEP, they actually send kids to these facilities. However, they're also supposed to be understanding, they have to, by law, understand why behaviors are happening. So one thing that they do, and you should advocate for, is a functional behavioral assessment, which basically is, okay, your kid's skipping school and they're running away from school all the time. Let's look at why. And that's what we're missing here. If she is self-harming, if she is, even if it's a suicide attempt, as you said, how do we understand the roots of why this is happening? So it would be about doing an assessment, understanding where is this trauma coming from.
And what was that called? A functional behavior assessment?
I think it's called like I think it's functional behavioral assessment, I believe is the actual term. Let me see.
I just want to put that in the up on a banner, just so in case anybody
assessment, yeah,
knows anybody who is considering sending their child to one of these places. It sounds like maybe this would be a better place to start, right, Meg? Yeah, and we'll never TTI.
Yeah, never TTI. But that's the thing, is that it's so dependent on the issue. So if this was me, I would try to figure out the reasons why and talk to her about why she's feeling the need, and without judgment, right? This isn't like, why are you doing those things to yourself? It's, hey, it looks like you're going through a really hard time. How do I support you? What's missing that you think would help? Like talking to them like you would want to be talked to, instead of feeling shame for, behaviors that you're listening. So talking and trying to figure out what that is. So maybe it's the fact that she doesn't feel accepted at school, or maybe there's issues with friends, or maybe she feels like she doesn't fit in. Is it something that getting peer mentorship can help with? Is it something that getting in extracurricular activities can help with? Maybe there's something missing that's kind of an easy fix that can help in her life. Something adding on to that, right? It's parents and a lot of caregivers are so quick to think that just because the behavior is really scary, because self-harm is very scary and eating disorders can be very scary, but it's not always, just because it's a drastic thing that you're seeing, always a drastic answer. Sometimes they're just kids, and their brain isn't 100% developed in emotional regulation to understand that drastic is drastic, right? That's just the answer for them right now. And so by figuring out what's missing, you can add specific tools to help to give them. And I think that regardless of what it is, it's a family issue. If someone is dealing with self-harm, that's not just that person. That's everything that is in that person's life affecting that. So if a kid is going through that, family therapy is going to be key, because it's not just going to be one problem with the kids. It's relationships matter within the family.
Yeah. Shit, I had a follow-up question, but I got distracted by the functional behavioral assessment. So like maybe also starting with a therapist in the area who like specializes in working with teenagers and kids.
The one thing, honestly, like, this is maybe a little bit controversial, and if they already have a therapist, definitely working with a therapist. But when you're dealing with things that seem outside of your wheelhouse, it's okay to say, like, this is outside of my wheelhouse and I don't know what to do. And this is something I've done with my kids. And one of the most beneficial things that I did was keep it outside of the relationship with the kid and the issues that they're experiencing, and get help for yourself. Number one, find help for yourself. And one of the best things I ever did was to find a parent coach. And parent coaches are not therapists. They are basically, think of like a life coach, only they're experts in behaviors in kids and teens, and are able to help you understand if whatever way you want to parent. So you tell them, I want to parent gentle parenting, or I want to parent with authoritative parenting, whatever your desire is, they help you achieve the goals of being able to do that in a way that's best for children to receive them. So it was one of the most helpful things I did, because if you say to your kid, oh, you're experiencing these issues, I think we need to get you a therapist, guess what they're hearing? I'm bad.
Yeah. Shame.
I make bad choices. So the first thing I always say, unless this is, of course, like an actual medical emergency, or they're like actively, hurting themselves and others, whatever. But if things are tough and you're at your wit's end, is to get help by a parent coach and help them understand how you can change little things to be able to better support them, and they can be there for you during the road of trying to figure out how to help. But if we can help them without a stigma, it's best,
Hold on. Are you saying that I potentially could have been slightly better off in my teens and 20s if I weren't neglected and abused and raised by an alcoholic? Like,
Yeah.
are you saying that maybe if the parental figures did a little bit more work on being the best parents and selves that they could be, that maybe that gives their kids a better chance?
Yep. I think that it is, here I am, a mom of 4. So this isn't just me spurting out stuff. I actually have lived experiences with being a parent. One of the hardest things as being a parent is admitting that you don't know what you're doing, and admitting that you made a mistake. It's the hardest thing ever. And the way that I go about with my kids is, there are times when I lose my shit, and there are times when I don't know what I'm doing. And I always admit it. I will always say, look, I'm not sure what to do in this scenario. Do you think we could talk about this and figure out something that works for the best of us, instead of just pulling something out? And I say to my kids all the time when I mess up, look, I didn't get a handbook when you were born. And every single day you're a day older, which means that, as my oldest, I don't know how to parent someone your age. Every day is a journey. And
Wow.
I'm learning how to do this with you. So just, be there. I'll help you. You help me. But, just know that I'm doing the best that I can. And if I can do something differently, please let me know. Just because you're a parent doesn't mean you have to control. And it's a chapter in my book that's coming out, is strict parents make sneaky kids. 100% true. The more you try to control, the more they push back.
Tale as old as time. I'm not religious, which actually reminds me that something I wanted to touch on. I mean, right? It's the apple in the garden. Like, everybody knows that if you say, don't do this, don't eat that, don't look at that, like, you just need to. There's like a compulsion. It's like, okay, don't sneak out. Well, I have to now.
Well, even if you're talking about like eating disorders, parents are inadvertently contributing to that as well. Like I did. Unfortunately, I listened to my pediatricians and did the same thing. Don't have your kids drink juice. Don't eat sugar. It's bad for their teeth. It's bad for ADHD. It's bad for this. It's bad for that. Guess what? I kept it out of the house. What did that do? Made them want it. And every time it was around them, oh my God.
They're at a birthday party in the corner, just like shoving cake into their mouth.
Yeah. If you have scarcity, it creates a need for more of it. And so like now they find whatever they want in the pantry. They eat dessert whenever they want in the day, and they can have 5 of them. If they have a stomach ache, they might learn that might not make that decision again, but they eat whatever they want.
Can you be my mom too, Meg? It's like, you're just like, oh, problems? Let's communicate.
It's just like, I'll be at a restaurant or something, and like my autistic 3-year-old is sitting there and he's only eating goldfish, and people like to leave this look, and I'm like, you try. you try getting this kid to eat pizza. Like,
I saw his giant serving of goldfish.
Oh yeah, I know. He's like sitting there with
nah.
Eventually they're gonna get the right nutrients. It's just like
at some point.
Doctors push that so much. I actually had a doctor once that was at my house doing like a swab for something for my kids and saw that I fed my kid pretzels. And the doctor was like, maybe you can get some peanut butter to have some protein with that. I'm like, you better not say that around my kid again. Like and he's like, there's less carbs if you, and I'm like, don't say that stuff around my kids. And then like the ease that they say things like BMI for like your 2-year-old in the room and then your 8-year-old or however old that, like they told, like I've had doctors tell me, well, Bentley's obese. I'm like, he's 3.
Yeah.
Of course he has a higher amount of fat. BMI is so bullshit. I'm sorry. If there's anyone that believes
body mass index, right?
Yeah,
For
BMI
anybody
is absolute BS. Absolutely.
Your toddler's obese. You're like,
any athlete should know that. I've been an athlete.
Chubby.
It's so BS. So BS.
Also, you touched on, emotional regulation and how that's, hard for younger people whose brains aren't fully developed. I'm 36 and I have a hard time with emotional regulation. Okay, I just want to throw that out there. And you've probably heard about this. Something that's been insanely awesome for me as far as like building tools, it has been DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy.
Mm-hmm.
DBT, like it helps people with emotional regulation skills, interpersonal effectiveness, so you know how to like communicate with others, which actually ends up being pretty fucking cool when you learn how to do it. I love when I do it good. I'm like, nailed it. You just fucking like had a conversation. It went awesome. Distress tolerance for people who maybe are apt to self-harm or something, because we all have different windows of tolerance. For some people, it's this big and they can take on everything. Like sometimes though, our windows of tolerance are this big and somebody's like, hey, maybe you shouldn't have another cup of coffee. And I'm like, why don't you go fuck yourself? And I'll have as much coffee as I want. And then I'm like, okay, maybe your window of tolerance is itty bitty right now, Ashley. Maybe go take some time to yourself, get some sunshine, And
that's a perfect example of like why it's so different for different people. Because like, think about it. If you and I were in a TTI right now, there would be one method of treatment, like one method of therapy. They say they do DBT and CBT and all that shit, but like in reality, they don't. And for instance, I'm autistic, and with being autistic, at least for how I experience it in my life, DBT and CBT do not work for me.
Interesting. Okay.
So one of the therapies that has been absolutely transformational for me is ACT therapy, and that stands for acceptance commitment therapy. And it is based on the fact that, so if you think about CBT as like a thought comes in, it's a negative thought, automatic negative thought, ants. Mm-hmm. Automatic negative thought comes in and it's really bad and it's affecting me. CBT would dictate that, how do I reframe that? How do I change that into be something that serves me? And then that becomes the new adapted thought, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. ACT therapy would dictate, okay, automatic negative thought comes in, and you sit with that and you accept that that thought is a part of you.
Uncomfortable.
That thought is a part of you without judgment and without shame, and accept this is how I feel right now. And guess what happens, at least for me and a lot of people that are neurodivergent in ACT, that accept that that's how you feel right now. Guess what happens to that thought? It goes away because you accepted it. That you, sometimes your body, the reason why these negative thoughts keep coming in is because you're saying, no. Okay, reframe. It's going to keep coming in until your body is able to accept it. Yeah. Okay, I'm feeling like that right now. Okay. And it's ACT therapy is 100% based on, this is another reason why it's good for neurodivergence. It's based on morals and values and how you see yourself and what's important to you and your character and you as a human being. And so by always treating certain situations, by coming back to your core values of how you view yourself and what's important to you. So it's a really good way to live. Like every situation, I think about core values. How do I deal with this with my core values intact? And it's also a good way to understand, when do I need to apologize? When do I accept apologies? If you always operate within your sphere of moral compass and moral values, then it's easier to kind of move forward in life. And so it's been really helpful for me. So if there's neurodivergence out there that, or non-neurodivergence, it's really helpful too. They even have ACT for couples, and it's super helpful.
Awesome.
So
yeah.
It's all based on like the couple values and how someone needs, and kind of like love languages in a way. So it's really interesting therapy that's not utilized as much as it should be.
Yeah, I've actually heard of it because I look into like a lot of different types of therapy. I'm currently doing EMDR for some traumas. Woo, that's a ride. So you guys, I think that's a really great point that Meg made, is that it's fucking certainly not one size fits all as far as getting help for yourself or a loved one who is dealing with trauma or dealing with some sort of developmental disorder or anything, so I think that's important to note. And then also and did I get that right this time, Meg, that autism is a development disorder, right?
Neurodevelopmental disorder.
Neurodevelopment disorder. Whew,
sure.
Okay.
Whatever. I'm pretty sure I'm right.
You're like, I just assume you're like the expert. So one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit too was that, this documentary recently came out on Investigation Discovery or Max or wherever the fuck, I don't know, both, I guess, called Let Us Pray, Prey, and it's about the independent fundamentalist Baptist cult. And they are huge on TTI facilities. I didn't know this. I interviewed Amanda Householder a long time ago who got her parents' facility shut down. It was a ranch and boarding school called Circle of Hope. And it's so sad to watch interviews with her too, because she's very much passionate about shutting her parents' place down and shutting down further places. I think she had a big hand in getting Agape shut down.
Yeah, she did a lot behind the scenes on that. Yeah.
But she still loves her parents. She still mourns the fact that she doesn't have a relationship with them. And I feel that because, like we just all have these like kind of this intrinsic want and need to be connected with our parents, even if they're not like the best for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess his name was Lester Roloff. And was he before or after Chuck Dietrich?
Before, I'm pretty sure.
Get the shit out of here.
Roloff goes way back. I mean, Roloff homes were like, Abby, you might be able to tell quicker. Hold on one second. I have to look up the date because it's in our timeline. I think it's like the 20s or 30s. No, wait, I could be wrong. 40s, 50s. When did Roloff homes? 51. Yeah, so before. Or 54 Roloff homes, but Roloff Enterprises in 51, and Synanon was 58. So yes, before.
Interesting. Oh, okay. So yeah, I had always
there's kind of two. So not everything they've adapted a little bit because of Synanon and used some of the tactics. But so Roloff homes and Lester Roloff was kind of the start of the religious academies, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's Synanon, which is a lot of the therapeutic boarding schools and residential treatment centers, group homes, blah blah blah. But they did kind of get some they pulled, if that makes sense, from each other, right? So religious academies didn't come out from Synanon. Right. They utilize a lot of the tactics and things like that, like it's crossed, but it is, the religious academies really come from Roloff homes and Lester Roloff and Goddard and all of them.
Wow. I had thought that like old Chuck was the only one with a big influence on this industry, but
I mean, it goes back to like the 1800s, to be honest. Like they had like Native American boarding schools. I think they call them Native American boarding schools. And they literally, it's the same thing. They would take Native kids, put them into these boarding homes just to strip them of their culture and language.
I think they were doing that till the 80s or 90s until Canada.
There's a lot of buzz, actually. Like, you can type into Google and find that out. Like, that's very much so a part of this history. We focus so much on, like, just the more modern times and things like that. But this has been going on a long time. People being against it. I mean, to be honest, like, go back to slavery. Like, this has been going on, holding people against their will in any way to get your way. I mean, it's been going on forever.
Forced manual labor, physical, mental, emotional, sexual abuse.
Yep, all happened throughout time, just in different names and to different demographics or different, subjects and things like that, whether it's kids, adults, one race or another. All of it needs to stop. It's just like, why are we as humans trying to force anything on another human? And it's just horrible.
I also just think it's wild how everybody's like, save the kids, and like the kids get treated literally the worst, like, of society. It's fucking crazy. Like, I mean, we definitely like throw away people with mental health issues and experiencing homelessness and all kinds of things. But man, people just really, I don't know. It's crazy how unprotected the kids in our fucking like world are.
I know.
It blows my mind. Yeah, and you guys, the religious homes that Meg's talking about that are they all IFB?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't think so, because there's definitely some no, they're not all IFB, but I don't know. Like, I don't know of any that are in like certain religions, though, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
I've never heard like a Jewish one before. There could be, but you don't hear about that. I'd say it's mostly within Christianity.
Right.
Or what,
Fundamentalist Christianity, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, usually it's going to be on one spectrum, on one opposite spectrum or another. You're going to have like that, radical, right?
Yeah.
Any religion, but I actually don't. There's some religions that don't have any of these, so it's the only one that I really know is like the Christianity ones.
Yeah, because I heard that John
Scientology,
Synanon. It's called not Synanon, Narconon.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I actually knew a girl in rehab who went to Narconon, and it's so crazy because when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I didn't know about all this stuff. So when I interviewed Amanda, I had no idea. She might have mentioned that it was an IFB boarding school, but like that wouldn't have meant anything to me at that time. Like, I wasn't really in the know as far as religion or the TTI, really. And when when this girl told me she had gone to Narconon, I had no idea that it was connected with Scientology. She explained to me how they would make her take a bunch of niacin and then sit in a fucking sauna for like hours on end, which sounded like absolute hell to me because I feel sick and nauseous in a sauna within 5 minutes.
I think the Scientology one is something Academy is what it's called. I believe Narconon, I think, is the drug thing. Right?
Yeah, Narconon's the drug one.
And then there's one, though, that is something Academy. I forget what it's called. But
oh, wait. Scientology's real world Hogwarts boarding school. Okay, well, you're making it sound pretty cool there.
Delphi Academy.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, they probably fucking keep the old Scientology part under wraps, though, because they do not make it like super well known that Narconon is a program run by Scientology. You don't just find that when you look it up. You have to dig a little. Yeah, I think that was, we were going to touch a little bit on the death at youth villages recently, but we don't have a lot of information on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I tried to get a hold of, the attorney on the case and stuff like that. We haven't heard back or anything like that. We'd love to be able to help and provide like experience surveys and, that kind of stuff, but we haven't heard back. So all we know, honestly, is what everyone knows from the media. We don't have any extra details, but my heart definitely goes out to her family. It's absolutely horrific.
I can't imagine thinking that you're getting help for your kid and then having them die in the, quote, care of one of these facilities, because they're absolutely not treatment centers. Yeah, that should just be wiped from the vocabulary of this whole topic. Meg, is there anything else you wanted to touch on today?
I don't think so.
Maybe we give people just a reminder of where to hit the links when the books come in, all that good stuff.
Yeah, let me pull that up real quick. So if you want to be notified when my memoir comes out in hopefully February.
I do.
Yay. Please go ahead and fill that out. And if you are a survivor of any kind of congregate care facility, please fill out our congregate care survey for our database. This is a private date. This is definitely not going to go online. This is absolutely staying between basically two people see it. That's me and my director of investigations. It does not go beyond that. So this is the link for that. And that's pretty much, I think, the only ones.
I can't click it because I'm backstage. So you'll have to send it to me.
There, I clicked it.
Okay. Oh, you did?
I think so.
No, it just keeps going. It just keeps hiding if I click it.
Wait, it did click. I said show. It's showing for me.
Oh, no, I know, but I can't click it to take it. It won't take me to the form, the website.
Oh.
Because if I click the link, it just either puts it on the screen or hides it. So you just Instagram me the link is what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you guys, any questions before we wrap up? Anything that you would really like to specifically hear us talk about, coming up in January?
Topics to cover that you're interested in?
Any interviews that you guys would like to hear? Meg's got a ton of connections.
Who do you want to hear from?
Let us know. All right, guys. Well, it has been so great to have you here today. Sorry that we didn't get too many comments, but there are some episodes that I think lend more to having a discussion with the audience and more that I think kind of getting off topic to go to comments, I think can be pretty distracting when we're on a heavy topic. So, sorry if we didn't get to y'all's comments, but I have been reading them. You guys are having an amazing chat as normal. You guys all have amazing things to say. And thank you so much to Meg's peeps, Marissa, and your investigator, Abby. Yeah, thanks you guys for being here and putting up all the links and everything. And thank you to the podcast listeners and the YouTube viewers. You guys are awesome. Go listen to the podcast at anywhere you find your podcast. That's So Fucked Up. And you can find all the stuff at tsfuthepodcast.com. And obviously, I'm here on YouTube. I am at TSFU the podcast live, and Meg is at Unsilenced.
On YouTube, it's at unsilenced_now. And then go and follow me on Instagram and TikTok. It's at Meg Appelgate for both.
Yeah, she's always giving lots of updates on what's going on in the TTI world and how you can help, how you can get involved, all that stuff. So thanks so much, you guys. Please take the survey. If it applies to you, please send it to anybody who it might apply to. And if you know anybody who's even considering, or you have a friend of a friend of a friend, whatever, just please send them this information, send them the video, like send them to Meg's site, whatever. Just let them know that, like, hey, that's not the answer. And there's plenty of evidence out there that shows that it's not the answer.
Right.
So thanks, Meg. I'm very excited for January. We're gonna fucking kill. We're just gonna keep trying to spread the word about this shit because they're out there working hard. So
we can do.
We gotta work hard too.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for coming.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you next time.
Have a great day. Bye.